What is up, guys? It is Joe. I am back, and we're talking ball about the Cats. We're talking about the transfer portal, and someone specifically I want to mention in today's video. But before I get into things here, let me tell you this. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing for more K-State content. I post videos just about every other day talking about K-State basketball, K-State football, and everything under the sun that has to do with Kansas State. If you want something cool on top of that, at 2,000 subs, we're giving away a lavender quarter zip, much like the one I'm wearing here now. And I think we're within 200. So once we hit that, I'm going to post a giveaway information on the channel, and you can sign up and potentially get your hands on an awesome lavender quarter zip. But let's get into things here, guys. As you see in the thumbnail, there's someone I want to talk about in today's video. There's been some back and forth on this player. Some people hate the idea. Some people love the idea. I'm going to make the case as to why Kansas State should bring in sophomore wing forward Mark Mitchell from Duke. The kid is a former McDonald's All-American. He's a Kansas City, Kansas local. He spent 2 seasons at Duke and started every game during his time with the Blue Devils. He's now in the portal and looking for some greener pastures. And guys, I got to say, K-State is the perfect place. Now, let me start here with his stats, with his intangibles, and then we'll talk about some connections. Now, the kid is 6'9", 232 pounds. He's from Kansas City, Kansas. He did play basketball with Taj Manning at Bishop Miege, so that connection's there. And another thing that I saw from Taj Manning's dad, shout out Lauren Manning, good dude, basically talked about how they've been friends growing up, they've been buddies, and when Kansas State was playing at the T-Mobile Center against Wichita State, Mitchell went out there to support my guy Taj Manning. Went out there to support the Cats and go watch the game and saw K-State take down Wichita State at the T-Mobile Center and saw that environment. First things first, that's pretty dang cool. It already shows the connection is there. It already shows that you have a good relationship, not only with the program, but with your guy Taj Manning, that realistically, Taj has been a great example of what it means to be a Kansas State Wildcat. So someone cool, some entry-level conversation already to discuss. Last 2 seasons, he's been a stud at Duke. He's fresh off his sophomore season, averaging 11.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 1.1 assists. He shot 54% from the field and 27.5 from 3, which I know that's going to scare people. I'll talk about that in a second. The kid's a former McDonald's All-American in the class of 2022. Coming out of high school, he was listed as the 13th ranked player available, the 3rd ranked player at his position, and the top ranked player in the state of Kansas. The dude can ball. Long story short, the dude's an athlete. He's a slasher. He's a genetic specimen that gives you matchup problems right off the rip. Now, part of this is this. There is a caveat to his game, and it's pretty large, but it's something that I don't worry too much about. His jump shot's a little unorthodox. It kind of has this mechanism of like pull it up and then push forward, and it's not always one smooth motion of up and over. It's kind of this almost like there's a hesitation slightly. And because I know fans, we're all going to look at that and be like, no, he can't shoot, he can't play, he can't. Guys, don't read too much into that. I'm just going to say it point blank. The thing that you see with this staff is they have been shown to drastically improve three-point shooting abilities of guys that really aren't career three-point shooters. I mean, Arthur Kaluma, his freshman season at Creighton, shot 27% from the three. Sophomore year with Creighton, boosted that up a little bit, 31%. And then this past season at K-State, shot 35% from 3. And on top of that, drastically increased the amount of shots he took. So it's a higher volume when you look at 35% and see that. Art was one of the best shooters on the team. And that hadn't really been one of his strengths prior at Creighton. So the thing about Duke, and this is something that I think about, the shooting thing, I'll relate it all back together. I don't worry about the improvement needed in the shooting game because Jerome Tang and the staff knows how to get the best out of their guys. Duke, it's like this. You struggle, there's a 5-star All-American kid behind you ready to go. You hesitate, there's a 5-star behind you. You need more minutes, you need less minutes, there's always a 5-star kid anytime you turn around. I mean, realistically, this is the crazy part. Patrick Ngamba has been recruited over by 2 or 3 different dudes, and he's a 5-star center. Like it's just crazy to see how many people come through. So you don't have to be a developmental program. Not saying it's circa K-State football where it's really, 4 years, 5 years development. K-State can get the best out of their guys in one summer, work on where their game needs to improve, and then fully unleash the version of them that can be special. Mark Mitchell is special. Don't get me wrong. People have kind of looked at this and said, there's a comparison to David Gasson where he's not much of a threat from 3. He's a much bigger threat from 3 than David Gasson, in my opinion. Dave is a stud. I'm not trying to use this to put Dave down by any means, so that's not where this is coming from. But Mark Mitchell is a former All-American, a 5-star kid, and I know you're thinking, well, numbers don't matter. Guys, if we're too proud to have a local McDonald's All-American kid who's just outside the top 10 players in the nation come to K-State through the portal, we're doing recruiting wrong. I'm just going to be plain and simple with you. K-State isn't going to use him as a depth big as a 4. They're going to use him as a slasher. That's what he's shown his ability at incredibly his freshman season at Duke. And I'll talk about the write-up here in a second. But where he makes his bread and butter, it's not off the dribble where he's, taking guys to the hole all the time. He's a slasher. He makes cuts to the basket. He's able to get in and out. He can operate in 2 big sets. He can operate in the 5-out. The dude has some of that ability. And I know what you're thinking. I think a lot of people look at this and say, well, if all 5 guys on the court aren't able to create with their own, ball handling skills, with their own whatever, if you're not creating for your other teammates, what are you doing? Guys, if you watched last season and saw anybody that made the right cuts at the right time or made any type of attempts towards the basket, movement without the basketball, that's news to me. This fit works. It's going to take a little bit of finagling, but it works. So you have the opportunity to bring in a kid with his talent to Kansas State. I mean, he's on NBA draft boards in the first round already, and the jump shot situation hasn't been fixed yet. The dude can absolutely unlock that next level of the game. And on the jump shot, I'm not too picky about it, man. It's not a Markelle Fultz situation where the kid doesn't remember how to shoot the basketball. It is literally just if he's left too wide open, he's going to hesitate and think about it a little bit more. When it's a smooth motion, like you see him driving to the cup, if he pulls up on a jumper, it's a smooth one motion and it's fine. But it is that difference of like, if he's out there on an island ready to shoot a 3, there might be some hesitation or some thoughts of like, oh, I'm wide open, I need to shoot this. Jerome Tang will round that out. I have no doubt in my mind. Let me read the 2 comps coming out of high school and after his sophomore season to give you an idea of how the play went. This is coming out of high school. This is Mark Mitchell's write-up. He's a quality physical build for a combo forward. Long arms, plays with the motor, and is a terrific 2-foot jumper. He's got functional athleticism, explosive in the crowd. Does most of his damage around the basket as a slasher, post-up player, and rebounder. He can stretch the defense with 3-point range, but it's not one of his strengths. He can switch direction on the drive and attack and finish with either hand as a natural lefty. That's a Jerome Tang thing. I've talked about it. Tang loves his lefties. Solid and versatile defender. Tough on the boards, not known as a playmaker for others, but does have a great feel for the game. Fits the mold of the athletic and versatile combo forward. This is the type of player the NBA looks for. Absolutely. A guy that can handle the basketball, not turn it over. He's good in transition. He's good on defense. He can hit shots when need be. And I think we're getting into this mentality of, guys, everybody on the court needs to shoot 40% from 3. Absolutely not. That'd be great, but if you're only bringing guys in that can shoot, you're going to lack a lot of different things. I mean, that's how you get a BYU team. Like, BYU's physical, but I don't think anybody looks at that team and says, oh, this is a really, really athletic team. They're fast. They run out in transition. They give you problems. They're going to make you stop the 3 ball. Mark Mitchell is a physical specimen. He's a problem in transition. And defensively, there's so many clips on his different highlight packages of him tipping the ball, getting a run-out dunk. The upside is the biggest thing here. Now, I know the potential is like, well, upside or potential gets you fired in certain settings. This would absolutely not. You bring in a 4 like Michael Brown-Jones, that deal's not done. I'm not trying to say it is. But a dude who shoots 43% at the 4 position already, that guy's going to be a better scoring threat than most of your guards out there from 3. Shoot, man, you get this guy up into the 30s, that's a threat. People will have to get out there and guard him. They're not going to be able to sag off. They didn't really do that at Duke, to be honest. They'd still let him shoot. Then he'd hit a shot, and then they'd run out there and defend him. But his thing is he's willing to cut to the basket, make the right reads, make the right plays. He's a good passer, and he absolutely would be successful at Kansas State. Now, here's his write-up after his sophomore year. This is what Adam Finkelstein had to say. He's the director of scouting at 247 Sports, and I wanted to read it here. Mark Mitchell exceeded all expectations in his freshman season at Duke. After playing primarily inside in high school, Mitchell was used almost as a combo forward to start his college career, with a surprise amount of success. He connected on 35% of his attempts from beyond the 3-point line, that's big, and was particularly viable spotting up from the corner. This year as a sophomore, his offensive role returned to what we expected coming out of high school. The southpaw struggled to space the floor and even saw his free throw percentage dip from 76 to 62%. He was still extremely effective inside the paint. As a freshman, 52% of his total field goal attempts came at the rim, and he made 68% of them per pivot analysis. This year as a sophomore, 60% of his total attempts came at the rim, and he made 79% of them. He was a threat rolling off ball screens, finishing at the rim, taking less mobile bigs off the dribble for a few bounces and straight lines, as well as a very dangerous offensive rebounder. His impact on the defensive end of the floor has been a constant. In fact, Duke's opponents shot under 45% on the year when he was on the court, and over 48% when he was off the floor. That's a 3% difference. He's strong enough to be physical in the post, but also mobile for his size, so he has versatility to defend multiple front court positions as well as play in various off-ball screens and on-ball screen coverages. He's also an energy giver who is active and able to cover the court while rarely fouling. That's what K-State needs, that last sentence. He's an energy giver who is active and able to cover the court while rarely fouling. Those are things that K-State struggle with. Fouls, rebounding, these are 2 advantages the kid has. And honestly, you see he shot 35% from 3 his freshman year, so it's there. It's not like lock away the key, put it away. But like I said, Duke has 5-star guys at every position. His role changed because they recruited different guys to play the role of that kind of 3 combo slashing forward guard, whatever you want to say. K-State absolutely could fit that in. Does Arthur Kaluma come back? I still don't know. That's something to consider. Art is going to, possess some of the power in all these situations of what the starting lineup looks like. But a dude like Mark Mitchell is too good to let go to anywhere else. I mean, KU's probably going to make a run at him. Missouri's definitely going to make a run at him. Kansas State has the ability because of the connection, the coaching staff, and the commitment to bettering the roster. So something to keep in mind. I think he'd be a hell of a player. If it's up to me, he's a starter. I think he's a really, really great player. And you see all these projections of him being a first-round NBA draft pick. The kid can sneak into the lottery if he has a good season. So you see that immediately. That's a guy you want on your squad. And he's not necessarily going to be your best offensive scorer. Like, you don't need him to be that guy. Doug McDaniel said recently he wants to facilitate and pass. He wants that to be his biggest aspect of the game. Doug's going to get his. He's going to score. Day-Day's going to score. He's going to facilitate. He's going to do his thing. Then you look at the 3-4-5. Whether it's Arthur Kaluma, whether it's Mark Mitchell at the 3, and I know this is all positionless basketball in the 5-out offense. One of those two guys, that's an awesome advantage to have over any team. That's a physical nightmare to deal with. Your 4 is Michael Brown-Jones, who steps out and shoots just under 45% from 3, as well as averaged 19 points a game last season at UNCG. That's an advantage. Then you get a center like Clifford Amore. This is all hypothetical, but you get a center like Clifford Amore. There's not a guy on that court anybody wants to defend. There's not like, this is the best matchup. There is not one. So Mark Mitchell makes the squad better. He had so much top-end talent and athleticism. He would be an absolute problem for anybody he matches up against. But guys, I just wanted to talk about that and shoot down some of the narratives of like, the fit would be weird. They'd only play him as a 4. They'd put him as a forward. He'd have to play a center sometimes. There's going to be very few situations where I see Mark Mitchell slide down and play center. He's going to be viewed similar to how Naquan Tomlin's role was going to be coming into this season. He's going to be a slashing big that plays the wing. So something to keep in mind. He has that ability, he has that athleticism, and I cannot wait to see what happens. When the dead period's over, we'll see if there's any conversation. We'll see if there's interest. But as of right now, he's someone I wanted to discuss. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. Go Cats.